Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back again. We're here for the grand finals of the Manila Masters 2017. I'm Lyrical, going to be joined by the lovely Tsunami. Tsunami, we've done it. We've made it through the whole spectrum of teams that have been playing throughout this event, and we're finally here with LGD versus Invictus Gaming. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm very I'm strapped in for the fact that this is a BO5 for sure. But more importantly, I'm very excited to see these two specific teams because IG made it through Kiev qualifiers and they will be representing one half of their sister team along with their sister team at Kiev for China. And so far in this qualifier, they have yet to drop a single game at all. Not even, it's been BO3s. They have not dropped a single one out of those BO3s. And I would imagine that a big portion of that is their drafting prowess. Now, do you care to tell me who the first hero banned by IG was?
Yeah, it was the Venomancer. Like,
now,
what world are we living
exactly
in?
Would they ban that?
Well, I think the big reason that we're seeing that banned is because maybe he's crazy. He's out of his damn mind, and he has been wrecking everybody in the mid lane with Venomancer. And, I saw something interesting just recently. There was a DPL game that was happening right before this where they picked the Legion commander, VTJ, versus Newbie. And so Newbie ran a Veno mid, and they picked a counter to it. They picked the Legion commander so he could press the attack off. Guess what? They still ran over him because then Veno just went for Plague Wards, and then Legion couldn't do anything anyways. It's like, how do you deal with this hero? He's absurd.
Yeah, and then you had mentioned in yesterday's winners bracket final, VGJ tried running Venom mid with Freeze, and IG, who we see here, beat it. Why sending... Last time it was Alina mid, but this time IG, they're recognizing that these people weren't maybe. They were trying to be maybe, but we cannot call them maybe. These are other carries who don't have this kind of signature Veno. So I am glad that IG banned it out. But the trade-off is that they let Monkey King through.
Right. And this is a bit of an issue here. Like, Monkey King is that other hero that's been a really great answer. More often than not, it's been a good answer to, like, the strong solo mids, particularly Magnus. We've seen it as an answer to ROTK's Magnus and other people taking it. But they end up still banning out the Magnus, not wanting to face off against it. But Jingu Mastery ends up just being incredibly effective at forcing people out of lane. And then you can also go the Tree Dance build where you just go in and harass the mid laners. So very versatile hero. And now paired with the Sand King, I'm curious what LGD are thinking with this. Do you think it could be an aggro dual lane?
10 seconds remaining.
I rarely ever see Monkey King sticking around in lanes these days. I think that Jingu Mastery primary has somewhat fallen off. You'll still see it depending on what the team comp is and how heavily they are reliant on a Monkey King to scale. But most of the time that I see him, it is Primal Spring first, and making sure that this Monkey King is just kind of bounty hunter-esque, in which you never really know what lane he's going to be ganking, and you never really feel protected, because unlike a bounty hunter, you can't just put a sentry ward and then be like, okay, well, I feel safe within this radius that no one's going to gank me. Monkey King can come from all sorts of different angles at all sorts of different timings, and you have no way to adapt to it.
5 seconds.
No, true enough. And I mean, that's the thing, is that he's just so versatile. And if they wanted to, they could try and apply some pressure by taking that Tree Dance early on and, just run all around the map. I will say they're investing a decent amount of bans in Invictus Gaming onto the maybe here. You see the Invoker taken out respectively, the Venomancer as well in the first phase. But this is still a guy who, in the very few games that he's played so far this patch, let me look at this. He has played 11 different heroes. Like, and let's see, what is that? That's going to be 8 of those heroes with only 1 game apiece and still with decent records across the board. He is very versatile. So, I mean, it makes sense to take the Invoker out, but I feel like they need to try and focus on other areas, because maybe's going to get what maybe's going to get. He's going to have a good game no matter what, I think.
Reserve time.
Yeah, and unlike the previous series that we saw yesterday, where Freeze was kind of a more, I suppose, sacrificial mid,
Yeah.
It's not IG's style to do the same thing. They are very focused on making sure that their cores get what they need. And so not only is the mid matchup going to be important for IG, but whatever they decide to give burning is also going to be very valuable because, like we said, Monkey King is an ever-present threat, and most of the time you don't want to have to dedicate too much time, hanging around and babysitting your carry just to deal with a Monkey King. You want to be able to move around as much as the Monkey King is.
Right. Well, and that's going to be some interesting couple of next set of picks here if they decide to go for like a roaming type of core. We talked about it yesterday. OP opted to take the Lina a couple of times in the series that we saw, and he did it to great effect as well, able to have himself a nice little couple of games there. And I think that they still can run it for Boboka or Q. We've seen them have a willingness to do that, but do you like the idea of taking the Lina in the mid, or you just think it's completely comfortable running wherever they want with it at this point?
I don't know IG too well, but right now I'd say that they're kind of have it as a flexible pick, like Silencer style, where depending on what LGD decide to give maybe on this mid roll, that'll decide what Lina's gonna fit in terms of her niche. Because right now, I mean, like you said, OP is very competent on the hero in a core role, but Centaur provides a lot of good setup as well as Rubik. And so
great.
Lina as a roamer or Lina as kind of a more support-oriented role has her place in this game. It just comes down to what LGD is going to throw mid.
I love this pick so much, this Rubik here, because it doubles down upon both styles of drafts that we've seen from Invictus Gaming. They can go like the super all-in-your-face push style where Lina just snowballs like crazy, and then Rubik is there to help buff up your creeps with a little bit of extra and, no field survivability. You could get a pipe later on Centaur too, so the normal outspam wouldn't work against it. And then you have this like very strong tempo-oriented just takeover, and then they would like finish it off with Avenge. Or they could go the other route and just have an incredibly strong dual roaming support combo where you have like telekinesis into light strike array and whoever they catch is dead. So very good just third pick here from Invictus Gaming, and it's still leaving them wide open.
Yeah, it's very balanced, and this is kind of what I imagine has helped IG throughout this entire patch. They haven't dropped a single 7.03 game at all, which I'm not sure if they've played any other besides what we've seen in the Manila Master qualifiers thus far. But regardless, some teams have kind of stuck to one strategy. LGD have mostly stuck to like a very aggressive strategy, and it's been working for them. But so far, it looks like it's mostly the same thing. You don't pick Monkey King unless if you want to go aggressive. Silencer is a little bit more middle of the ground. He can be counter initiation. He can be roam or like a support. He can be core. He can be mid. He's also very similar to that Lina. So right now, both teams are kind of keeping their cards close to their chest. They're not showing any clear strategy in mind.
I mean, I think that it's worth noting too, just in terms of like relative strengths to each other. It's interesting because Invictus Gaming, they haven't dropped a game like you said, but the best team that they've also played was VCJ, whereas LGD, they've taken games off of Newbie, they've taken multiple series off of VCJ. They actually traded them one apiece, and then like CDEC, the other best teams in the region as well. So it's going to be a very interesting placement match to see, where these teams really do land relative to each other. But the Weaver now taken, and this, in my eyes, well, it still kind of leaves the Lina pick open. What do you think about the Weaver?
It's going to be it's almost definitely going to be a carry Weaver. I would be amazed if they turn it into a support Weaver, but it's very safe against Monkey King. Primal Spring is hardly a concern for Weaver. Even though Weaver did get a slight nerf to move speed because I think Ice Frog was sick of everyone not building boots on him, they're most likely still going to go bootless Weaver, and you don't need to really babysit the Weaver too much. Primal Spring, not that great at keeping a Weaver in the same place, and so far, Boundless Strike is good at setting up for a Burrow Strike, but Sand King would have a tough time laying against a Weaver just one-on-one. But if they send the Faceless Void in the offlane instead, Void has a little bit easier time and can also provide a lot of setup for something like a Monkey King. One of the pub combos that I suppose I've been seeing, I don't know how much I've seen it in competitive. I feel like I may have seen it in some European matches, but the obvious synergy between Faceless Void and Monkey King is that you get more range on the Monkey King, so more often than not he can whack people even without a perfectly placed Chrono and build up Jingu Mastery, and then obviously you can put a Wukong's Command on top of that. I'm not 100% sure actually if the statues attack within the Chronosphere, but
as far as I knew, when it did get originally put in, they did do it. I don't know if that was patched out again, but I believe that it still does work. So kind of a neat little wombo combo there if you're able to get it off.
Yeah, so this is surprisingly teamfight oriented from LGD. Given their first 2 picks, it seemed more aggressive roaming, but now you put a Chronosphere, you put a Global on top of that, and then I guess a Requiem as well to top it all off. They're definitely interested in getting some 5-on-5 engagements.
I actually really like the idea of maybe taking another mid hero now instead, and then putting the Lina Rubik dual roaming support combo to try and mess with Shadow Fiend. I don't know if they're going to do it, but that feels like it could be really strong. There's one of those heroes that is gankable, although maybe plays an incredible Shadow Fiend. And, well, instead they're going to go for the Riki. So another hero that enables that same type of idea of punishing the Shadow Fiend in mid. But it's going to be the Lina there trying to take this guy down. It's a hero with a lot of kill potential, so he's going to need to be careful.
Yeah, I guess they really did want OP Lina. It's maybe a bit unoptimal to have 2 Invis heroes. That just means that like LGD have no real great 5 position. All these heroes need items. In fact, the one that would probably need items the least is Monkey King, which seems unlikely, but Silencer needs to scale given this lineup. Otherwise, he's going to be just about as useful as a Global Silence, and that's it. So the way that LGD have drafted their... I prefer LGD's draft in this case. I think it's easier to execute than IG's.
Okay. Well, we'll have to watch and see if they're going to be able to do it, but we're getting ready to hop into game number 1 of this best of 5, LGD versus Invictus Gaming. Winner is going to be going to the Manila Masters, and I am super excited. Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because I changed the overlay already. We're on it. We're doing the dang thing. I know, it's great. And also, I want to mention, a lot of times casters will say like, "Oh, he really knows how to play this hero. It's great." That I need to re-emphasize how good Maybe is on the Shadow Fiend. It's his most played hero, I think, by far, if I'm not mistaken, all time. Let's take just a quick little look-see.
Yeah, it is, with a country mile lead over his second place, which is Ember Spirit.
Right,
and but believe you me, Venomancer is going to rise up those ranks.
That's true enough, and that's if people aren't going to ban it out. That's the big question.
Right.
But I think that it also it's worth repeating that this hero does still have those weaknesses of being roamed on early, and we're gonna have to see how much Boba can get done early here. How do you expect to see the Riki versus the roaming Monkey King work out? Like, is one hero going to be more easily able to make stuff happen for their team?
I feel like Ricky's going to be able to get more done in lanes that aren't mid, but Monkey King will probably have dominance over the mid lane because Lina is, suffers from the same vulnerabilities as a Shadow Fiend, kind of low move speed and relatively vulnerable. They have no escape spells or anything like that. So both mids are heavily dependent on rotations, both for turning aggression on and avoiding aggression.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that that's going to be something to watch because you can punish quite heavily, and if you end up getting a little bit of an advantage on either of the heroes, they're very snowball oriented. So I feel like potentially we could see a kind of stompy game if it doesn't go well in the first couple of minutes for either team, honestly. But we'll have to wait and see. So far, we're seeing one ward block out the camp here. That was the same ward that was used yesterday. They dropped down another sentry. That will not quite go into range of the observer ward that was down here blocking the other hard camp. So looks like there'll be a couple of hard camps blocked.
And one sentry is already spent by Yao in the top lane, and bot lane XZ has the other sentry, which means that they really don't... It's going to be dependent on this Monkey King to keep Shadow Fiend protected mid, because no sentry against a Riki is very, very ballsy.
They're bringing in a couple more here. M99 has picked up another two of them.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, he knows what's going to happen here if Bobica is able to get free reign. And, well, you do still have one sentry on Bobica, as well as another observer ward that's placed over here to the side. So they'll see any movements in, and they actually are going to go for a Primal Spring, but obviously not going to hit onto Lina.
SF doesn't have any raises yet. Hopefully they don't put too much focus and then forget about the courier, though, because right now Bobica is prowling.
Yeah, they did bring out and ferry out the stuff that M99 had, those sentries, but we'll see what maybe needs to get for himself. Looks like he's going for early boots, at least as an early build, and another Primal Spring there on top of OP. They don't have raises yet, but if a level 1 maybe can find a kill here, this would be fabulous for his start. So many souls, and a great beginning to this. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it was a great opening because they knew Riki would most likely be looking for a courier at this stage, so there's no chance he's going to be mid. They placed that one sentry towards the north end of the mid lane.
Oh, bottom lane.
Down goes the Sand King.
Oh, wow.
And his ward?
Yeah, they used a sentry ward there to be able to break it down, so they had to eat one of them as well. They're going to go on to XSS up here in the top lane as well. Non-stop action in this game, and this might just be +2 going into the favor of Silencer. But how often have we seen a level 1 Shadow Fiend find a kill on the opposing mid player, like with Necromastery skill? That's absurd.
Well, I think the better way to put it is how often do we see Monkey Kings get a lot of rotations done at level 1? And the answer to that is very frequently.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And this is, well, like a big product of that. Shadow Fiend is level 3.5, has 2 points in raises, and now OP is so heavily zoned. Even with this Riki coming in, maybe he's not too concerned. He has the Sentry Ward for protection, and Bobica shows himself.
Yeah. And
Meanwhile,
Monkey King is here.
King.
They actually might be able to go in on this full channel. Just barely off the mark. That would have been a huge pickup if they could have killed OP again in lane.
But still, the OP is so stressed right now. There's no real opportunity in which he feels safe because M99 is just all over the place. Just got a kill up top. Got first blood on mid. Still hanging around mid, but you really don't have any confirmation as Riki is using some illusions, but I guess he's confirming the radius of the sentry ward.
Yeah, and right now that should be a signal to M99 that, you know, this is not the real one. These are illusions that are getting spammed out. They are doing a decent little clip of damage to Maybe here, which is, I'm sure, is frustrating. But he's not too concerned about it. He's just still sitting in lane, happy as a clam. We'll keep on farming away, building towards those raindrops as well.
Yeah, he's not going for a bottle, hasn't used his shrine yet. It's more about just getting as much farm as possible in this mid lane, because mid lane arguably more snowball dependent than a Shadow Fiend, because Shadow Fiend does a pretty good job at being able to show up and get kills, as now Sand King bot lane.
They have a Fade Bolt. It's only level 1, but they still should be able to find this kill with another Sakuchi coming up, maybe, possibly? Yeah, they got the bugs on him too. So Q actually picks that up. That's going to get him closer to boots as well. But a very back and forth game across the lanes, and I mean, I guess the fact that OP can keep on spamming out the waves is going to keep him pretty happy in the mid lane.
Yeah, and he hasn't taken care of this high ground ward. He has a well, I thought he had a sentry. I thought someone had a sentry for him mid, but no, I guess not. And now OP just can't get close to the lane. A ranged creep inadvertently spotted M99 on this Monkey King, and so OP is hanging around on the right side now, but it's not. Nope. Yeah, M99 keeps drawing aggro.
He's trying to look for this courier here for a second at least, but he isn't going to be able to get that. OP in a hell of a lot of trouble. Silenced up by Silencer, just trying to juke away from it. All right, Invis Rune keeping him alive.
He knew the Q raise was already used, so he just was hugging Shadow Fiend. There's no reason to run away. You're just putting yourself in trouble with long distance raises at the bot lane.
Yeah.
Again.
They just keep going. It
Oh
does look like he's able to switch aggro. That's always a tense moment right there as he drops down to 38 HP. But yeah, able to get the aggro off of him. But there is a rotation that's coming over now, and you have Boundless Strike on MK. But they're still going to keep this pressure on. With an early Aquila by Weaver, as you said, no boots as of yet. They can apply a decent amount of pressure here.
And it draws Silencer down to this bot lane. But at this point, since XSS kind of took a fair amount of, you got killed, basically.
Yeah.
He's not as comfortable 1v1 melee against a Void as some other Centaurs might be. But Ame's not going to be able to kill the Centaur. They're just going to be able to trade for him.
Okay. Yeah, and that's something that we'll have to keep our eyes on is, how scary this lane is going to end up being for the Centaur once, you end up having Chronosphere online and maybe a couple of rotations as well. But it seems like a lot of that effort is maybe thinking about going back towards mid. Yao, level 4, has 2 points up in Arcane Curse, so the 12% movement slow. Looks like, though, OP is just going to back up off the line and Well, maybe another smoke coming out from the side of IG instead. Was not scouted.
Yeah, but I think they just want to be able to protect OP, and they just want to guarantee that OP. Oh man, it's too late.
Oh, maybe possibly Boundless Strike. One hit actually misses one of those raises, but he will die. They end up taking a return kill, trying to pull maybe back inside to tower range now. Slowed up as well. Boboko on top of him. Yao, they might be stepping their bounds a little bit too far. Can they kill off? Maybe they have a haste rune. They have the Chronosphere on to 3-1 raise, 2 raise. Can they find more? It looks like they will be able to. Burning just barely going to get away. But man, that was not how they wanted it to go. And, well, Burning, that was close to him going down another time. They had raises again for maybe. Whew.
Ame was booking it. He didn't have anything to TP to. He just saw what was happening, and he was just making the long journey to that mid lane. And what a hell of a rotation. Like, Burning came in, and it's easy for a Weaver to make that rotation because it was a tower dive, but it's much more tricky for a Faceless Void to read that far in advance that you will be useful with your Chronosphere. And he had just hit level 6 basically right before that, so a really fortuitous timing for that Void, and SF makes out like a bandit. 30 souls, level 6 and 3/4. Meanwhile, Lina barely just level 5.
And maybe it speaks a little bit just to the coordination. They were the ones that instigated that gank. And again, they're going to have another chance at it here as Ricky is scouting out M99. They have the Burrow Strike onto XZ as well, but there's going to be a kill coming in from Maybe. They end up getting the silence off, slowed as well. Can they possibly get out of this one? They need to get the Shrine activated, but it looks like Yao will force back the rest of them. So a 1-for-1 exchange, you lose your Sand King, doesn't feel great.
Still 5 for 5 right now, and the cores of LGD are getting far more than the cores of IG. Like, Burning had to show up for 2 ganks and didn't get anything out of either of them. He showed up at that mid one, got chronoed, left. This one, he gets the Sand King kill, but that's marginally useful at best. Meanwhile, Maybe hasn't died a single time. He's 4-0 on this Shadow Fiend. Ame in the top lane has been basically getting free farm. He's 1-1 right now. So as the clock continues to tick, LGD are going to get more and more out of the map because their supports even scale better. Monkey King, definitely a very competent carry, probably the way most people initially expected him to be played. Silencer, very strong semi-carry as time progresses. And
yeah.
Meanwhile, Lina's not getting much, Rubik can only do very much, and I mean, Riki rarely ever gets anything beyond a diffusal blade these days.
We've seen a lot of issues with with Ricky's losing their ability to like get levels early on, just because of experience changes, and then also teams being more prepared for those rotations you would expect. And we actually have the Faceless Void who finished at the 8-minute mark. His Midas, he only just now gets it because of some courier shenanigans that was going on. But it looks like now you've got Midas on Void. It's Maybe who's going to be the one who's capable of really pulling his weight and doing the damage in these fights now, and he's definitely going to be able to do it with the DD as well.
Yeah, he's going to be going for a Hurricane Pike as well, so not only is he going to be dealing damage, but he's going to be pretty evasive, and Faceless Void, as we all know, is very evasive, because IG has a fair amount of burst damage, but most of it is on the back of Lina, and Lina has not been getting a good start, and so being able to rely on Laguna Blade to finish off this Void before Time Locks start coming out is going to be a tall order. Meanwhile, bot lane, XZ is kind of contesting Burning.
Oh, Chrono? They wanted it. Just a little bit too late on it, and I think, again, just good warding being displayed by IG. It's showing that this is a match that's very... maybe more closely contested than some would have thought. Invictus Gaming, they just, gonna go in now on a Maybe. They have Burning here as well, going for the right clicks. If they could find this kill here, it'd be huge. They have the silence as well to drop. Maybe is gonna fall, and trying to get Yao as well. They will find that kill. So that was so necessary for IG because they were gonna start to continue that snowball a little bit out of control, but they take 2 here.
Yeah, and ending a streak on Maybe, and this time one of Burning's rotations do end up in a good cash influx. He doesn't get too much, but at least he was participating for the EXP of those 2 kills, and he wasn't getting too much done in the bot lane as now Faceless Void has shown up, so Burning is finding space where he needs it.
Oh, and this Invis rune. This might be a nice answer, although they're walking right under a sentry, so yeah, now they realize XC's in the area, they can't do anything, so they're going to back out. Top lane, M99 is scouting out Burning. Seems unlikely to find a kill unless there's rotations, and right now LGD is sort of It feels like almost content to hold off for a bit. Well, as I say that, there's a smoke, and they have global up in a little while.
Global, and actually
It's not
M99
up
is
yet.
opting to max Boundless Strike, so he's most interested in making sure that Weaver stays still. It makes sense, the time for ganking and lane rotations is kind of past, though as I say that, XZ looping around behind Bobica, but their scan is down.
Oh, wait, smoke broke. Dust! There he is.
Radiant's
Yeah.
bottom tower
That
is
should
under
be most likely a kill. Looking for a catch. And, well, Stampede. That should be the end of it, I believe, as the Arcane Curse might be enough.
He's ticking.
Trying
He's
to TP
ticking.
out.
He's
Oh.
dead.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, I misspoke there. Global is not up, but a little bit of extra ganks like that, and he'll get enough experience up to that level 6 soon enough.
Oh, yeah, I mean, dude's already +8 int right now. He's been showing up nearly as much as the rest of his team to all these fights, and they want to start another fight in the top lane. M99 has been quietly gathering data.
Well, they realize what's happening, but they also have used Stampede. So I think that they're just trying to bait this out and hope there's some type of reaction. Also, it's just, Monkey King continuing to get levels for himself as well, which can make a pretty nice difference to, his ability to be a presence in these fights with Wukong's command.
Yeah, I'm curious what he goes for this game, actually, because he's maxing Boundless Strike, it leads me to believe that he's most interested in making sure Burning Weaver is kept under control. And so, as a Monkey King, what's the best option? You would think maybe something like a Basher early on. Maybe you just want to, have a lot of damage all over the place. Go for something like a Maelstrom, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what he goes for. As now they're going to try to defend mid.
Now they do have global up, so well done, Monkey King. That long range right click, always love to see it. Blink Dagger is up for Centaur in the top lane, so they might think about going on XZ, although that is now revealed, so seems unlikely to find a kill onto XZ unless he was not paying attention and is not paying attention right now.
Yeah, but they know that M99 TP'd mid, and as we all know, 7.03 slightly increased cooldowns on TP, so it's a good opening to start making moves up top before Monkey King can get into a good position and get a solid Wukong's command off. But right now, LGD are just kind of blind. They know there are a lot of people here, but they don't know how many.
That was a quick view of XZ. They know that he's in the trees right here. They are completely aware of this, yeah. And then they throw out the bugs. So they should back out now. That was a really close little call there. If he had not quite caught vision right as he was heading through those trees, the Weaver, I think that they maybe get baited into a fight there.
They may have been able to survive it, but then again, Global is up, as you said, and it looks like LGD wants to use it aggressively rather than defensively.
I mean, they've also got Epicenter. They've got everything. This is like the ultimate team fight for him right now. Ame jumping forward, trying to find it. They get the hoof stomp off. Can they bring him down in time, though? The Global, he catches on to 3. Is it going to be enough, though? They need to get out the Epicenter Burrow Strike, trying to go for it. Wukong's command comes out, trying to keep the rest of the side of IG back, but they've already taken down 2, and now the rest of IG needs to run away. Monkey King looking for a catch, looking for a kill. It didn't end up breaking the tree, so that's not that 4-second stun onto Monkey King, but he's still not going to be able to quite catch up to him, and it looks like OP will possibly go down. They have Burrow Strike again in 0-1. No, he's not in range. I'm not sure why they didn't end up going back for the Epicenter, but in the meantime, they take down maybe. Possibly Burning, dropping low. Can they kill him off? No, the time lapse. He's away. So LGD lose 3. And in some ways, it felt like maybe they could have turned it back around. Were they just worried about like the silence coming out from the Riki maybe, and that's why they didn't go for the Epicenter? It's the only thing I can think of is Yao is likely to go down here. Although, yeah, they got him, Dragon Slave.
Overall, LGD just stayed longer than they needed to, and they started in a very Faceless Void basically used Time Walk aggressively, and then Face First went into a double edge and some Geminate attacks, and then used Chrono, and they used Global on top of that, and they were just trying to go for whatever was caught inside the Chrono. And yeah, I'm curious as to why XZ didn't use Epicenter. I didn't really catch it, but whatever the case, it must have been something that he was concerned about. Possibly, like you said, the Riki Cloud. But they got a few kills, but then it's only 15 minutes into the game. Respawn times are really low, and so Rubik respawned, TP'd the shrine, and it was one of those classic shrine fights.
I guess that, you know what, it's probably pretty hard to get it off in this game with all of the heroes. You've got the Ricky Cloud to break it, you've got Centaur Stun, you got Rubik Steal as well, which you need to be cognizant of, but a couple of those heroes were dead, and some of the other ones were caught in the Chronos, so I don't know, tough to sell. I'm sure that he did everything that he thought was right, and it ended up not quite working out for them. Maybe once that Blink Dagger comes online for him, that's going to be that other factor that allows him to really go for like the full combination that just destroys the Invictus Gaming lineup.
Which he does have now, and if they want to use it for this defense, it's a pretty good time because Global's back up, Chrono's back up, Wukong's command is back up, and this is a tier 2. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right, Chrono right away, why not? But now they steal it. Chronosphere taken by the Rubik, and they need to be a little bit careful here. They drop down the silence as well. Laguna Blade time walks it away. Ame gonna live through this, and now they end up throwing out the Global. They lose the Rubik. So they end up trading 1-for-1 so far with the silencer going down, trying to take down Bobica, but he's just outside of range of that dust, and they will escape. But a very tense moment there. These team fights are so back and forth.
Yeah, this may have been a product of Rubik. Like, once you get a Chronosphere, you're in a very difficult spot as a Rubik because Void can move through all Chronospheres, so you don't really want to place it while Void is still alive.
Right.
And then if you do place it, you want your team to be able to take advantage of it, and it's difficult because no one else on your team can move through it. And so Silencer TP'd in, and maybe Rubik should just drop the Chrono on him, because then Global came out and Rubik couldn't do anything, and then he just died.
That was a very interesting little engagement right here. Bobica...
Yeah, he ate that TP really late.
I mean, he ate it right as they went down. They steal Sandstorm, but they're going to be able to kill him off. I was wondering if they're just going to, like, dust and kill him, but with the rest of IG showing up, they knew it was coming, and, well, they were able to take him down. So, nicely done.
Thankfully, Sand King has completed that Blink Dagger, so any deaths that he have aren't too expensive, but again, like, more and more team fights are passing by where no epicenter is being used. It was a little bit overzealous of Ame to go for that Chronosphere when none of his team was in position, possibly, but maybe they just were skeptical that IG was going to back out too quick and wanted to lock down whatever targets that they could find.
Yeah. You also have him continuing to just scout out what's going on with Maybe over here, soaking up experience whenever he gets a chance to. And likewise, M99 starting to get towards this next tier of items, building into the phase boots at the moment. So that extra little bit of damage coming out, and obviously maneuverability as well, going to be value and a half. But I'm kind of wondering what the role of this Ricky is going to be going forward, because granted, he does still have Smokescreen, which is an amazing ability, but it does feel like he's, like, as soon as a gem or something else comes out like that, he's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, which is what the concern that we brought up earlier. Oh, if he could pop the smoke, that would be nice. I don't know if he saw it. I think he may have saw like the plume of smoke.
Yeah.
And that was enough, because, yeah, it does look like all of IG are backing off immediately.
Good decision. They're going to get out of there. And we do have a couple of other things that have started to come up. The Bloodstone for OP. This is his preferred build. And, God, if they can find... this is one of those items that's snowbally. So if you end up winning a fight right here, it's great for you. But likewise, losing it at this point would be awful.
Yeah, this is the second time that I've seen Alina go for first item Bloodstone. Oh, they're going in.
Global Silence comes out as well, trying to take down XXS. He's the only one caught in that epicenter. He is going to fall, but will they be able to get anything else? They pull back XZ, trying to bring him down. That's the Laguna Blade. They also were able to control and bring down Monkey King. If he could go down here as well, it would be huge. Wukong's command is now gone. They can chase Maybe off to the side. Yao trying to run away as well. Ame does have Chrono. Gonna jump, turn, drop it now. OP. This would be a huge kill. They take one. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to take more than that for now, at least. They're going to try and escape, and that will be enough for them, I believe. So very well played. Lena back in an instant because of that command. And actually, Rubik has taken Tree Dance, and he's going to pull back in Yao. Look at this guy jump around, stealing Last Word as well. Q doing his bestest to bring down the Silencer. They will find that kill. Great initiation, and now they're going to be able to chase down maybe possibly Ame. They realize that, oh, they need to be careful. Burning, dropping low, and is going to die. Maybe overextending at this point as well. They're trying to run away on Q. He's running out, but he is going to be brought down. So the final tally ends up being a very chaotic couple of kills. I think that with Burning dying, though, it's really rough for IG.
Burning, dying, and OP insta-dies. So the reason that these Linas go for Bloodstone first is, as he's going to find XZ.
Nice pick off, but will it come at a cost? They're on top of him already. Well, there's an instant respawn, but like you said...
Yeah, so she takes that level 10 talent, negative 30 respawn time, and you come back immediately, which is great. But, you know, you also have a Bloodstone first item against a Silencer, which means that whenever Global comes out, you are useless. You don't have anything like a Yule's. You don't have anything like a Lotus Orb. You can't purge off that Global at all, and no one else on your team has any of those items at this stage either. So, I mean, you know, it's hilarious that you come back in like 0 seconds, but then what do you do when you're back? Already, OP, his suicide has been used, and he's down to 7 Bloodstone charges, and you just said that he got his Bloodstone.
Well, so that's actually something that I'm wondering about, though, because in spite of the fact that he has died this time, like, and you lose your regen possibility, sure, but like, look at his farm. He's still keeping up with these heroes, and OP has died 4 times at this point in the game. Like, if you just keep on trading deaths with these heroes, you're going to get better farm efficiency because you're alive instantly to farm, and there's no like penalty to that. Is that value? Is that... I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
It's reliant on who LGD are getting picks off on first. Like, if they kill the Lina first, then that's the, as odd as it sounds, that's the best case scenario for the Lina, because then she immediately comes back and she's ready to participate in the fight after so many resources have been spent to kill her. But if they go for someone like the Centaur first, which is what they did in that earlier fight in between the 2 mid towers, that's the worst case scenario for Lina, because Global comes out, she can't do anything, Centaur dies, and now even if she comes back into the fight, what's she gonna do? They can try to contest this Roche.
They broke the blink, really well played there. Gonna go back in now. They need to be careful though. They drop the Cloud. Q running in, has Burrow Strike, drops it onto 2, and now they drop the Global as well. Lift onto maybe. He is going to bring down Q though. Right click's coming in. They drop the Chrono onto Burning and OP, in a lot of trouble. Burning needs to get out of there as well, but OP wants to go back in, trying to bring down maybe the Epicenter onto XSS. They pop the Stampede, and OP just keeps on thinking about fighting. It's really showing that he is not afraid to get down and dirty early on with these guys.
Well, he's railroaded himself into that. If he goes for an item like a Bloodstone, you can't play passive. You need to be able to join into fights as frequently as you can. And like you said, that canceling of the Blink Dagger meant that, once again, IG did not get the initiation that they wanted. And even though there was a really good Chrono, maybe didn't even care to go kill the heroes. He was going to go finish off Roche. He got the Aegis, and that's the primary objective. They're not too concerned about getting kills because a lot of cooldowns have been spent. Stampede will be up again, and actually Burning didn't have to use time-lapse or already got it back, but whatever the case, they have an Aegis right now.
Right.
Although, same thing for LGD, they had to spend a lot of cooldowns as well, and so now only ult that's up is Requiem.
Well, we'll see if we can have something done here by IG. Stampede back up very shortly, as we're mentioning these ultis, so important. And doesn't look like Bobica is going to quite spot out Monkey King, but Monkey King will see the Centaur there, just barely.
Ooh, he sees everyone going around the back end.
Burning
that's
in
a
the
really
area.
risky.
Oh, good jump out. That was really close, but now they realize what's happening. Rubik stole Raze, and with that, that should spell the end of this aggressive. And yeah, they're gonna back out of here.
Yeah, and the other follow-up item that I had seen, maybe it was OP Lina
The Shadow
that I
Blade?
saw. It was the Shadow Blade, and again, it's maximum aggression. But LGD have a really good team at punishing that kind of aggression, especially on a hero like Alina, because I mean, for some reason, they just don't care about global, and I think that's going to come to bite them, because right now, what's Void working on? Okay, so he's actually not going to go for a Blink, he's going for a Diffusal Blade, but he has a Lincoln, so that means that Chronosphere will be, you know, as pretty prime positioning. He won't have to compromise on Chrono positioning, and then I don't think that maybe has had to use Requiem a single time yet, and so they haven't really gotten the whole SF Void combo off as well as they could, so even though LGD are winning these team fights without all this, right now IG are still falling behind.
I mean, it's sort of weird, though, because in terms of net worth, it's still been very constant this entire game, and I think they've, in spite of the fact that they're, like, under threat of being, you know, losing each and every team fight and falling behind in that regard, they're still getting a lot out of the map, which is quite impressive. So we'll have to see what IG's response to this is going to be. And it looks like Centaur is actually going to be going for a heart instead of going back for the Aghanims that we've tended to see as Bobica just dies.
Yep, and that's the reason why I am concerned, which even though IG are in the net worth lead, we talked about how LGD, their whole draft scales much better as the game progresses than IG's draft. Riki has not really been progressing in items at all. I've been seeing this Diffusal Blade in his quick buy for like the past 15 minutes now, and he hasn't really gotten any closer to it. He's doing his job though. I mean, he's getting information, but you know, at a certain point, all of LGD are going to be sticking together as 5, and like you said, a gem is going to come out at some point, so even that usefulness of Riki will be diminished.
Well, and I think that the only thing that LGD really needs to worry about outside of, you know, making sure that they're making the most of their like advantages at various points is getting XZ a little bit more farm himself, because you do see he's fairly far behind the Centaur at this point. And actually, he's only barely 1,800 gold ahead of the Riki. So I think that like they need to make sure that they're getting the most out of maybe in these fights and keeping him alive, because if they don't, like this is a dual core lineup against what will turn into like a tri-core eventually as we get a little bit of perfect world lag. Always love to see that. Burrow strike there onto Epi. They stole Burrow, but now Global comes out. That's Global down and nothing of it. A little bit scary.
And in fact, IG is split pushing top much faster. They're going to take this tier 2 uncontested. Solo Chrono on the Riki.
Alright, well, hopefully...
oh, and not even the kill.
Wow. Trying to get it, but wasn't able to find it there. And Burning keeps the lane pressured out. They might be able to find him on the backside of this, but no, there's not a great catch mechanism for him. So... I might need to try a quick reconnect if it doesn't settle down in a second. It doesn't always help, but we'll try it out a little bit more. He's looking okay now.
I'm so surprised that LGD were feeling so skittish with that global. Like, we had, as I say that, we had an Aegis on the Shadow Fiend, so is it really critical to get a global out that early in a not committed fight? If they were going aggressive, then sure, go for it, but Void didn't find a chrono. It was just, you know, Sand King kind of getting caught, and yet that was enough to make the Silencer feel scared enough to pop global. As a result, they don't take a tier 2, they don't really get anything done out of that Aegis, and IG continues farming.
In this next fight, you have Rubik with Burrow Strike level 4 as well. It's something to be concerned about, and they're going now for this big smoke play. It will break on the Monkey King if they go up to high ground here, and it may actually break on Yao. God, if they could find Yao at the start of this, it would be tremendous. But they're instead keeping the eyes to Sand King, might realize now that he's TP'd out, and it looks like the smoke will actually not bear fruit. Yeah, they have to go back to the jungle and farm a little bit. So I am going to take this time just to try a quick reconnect, and then you know what? You'll have to tell people that they need to rejoin the channel as well, because there's going to be volume messed up stuff. Would you be willing to do that?
Wait, which channel?
So just tell people, just say out loud, if you can't hear Lyrical, rejoin the game for in-game TV stuff.
Oh, okay.
How's it looking, though, in there?
For me, it's actually been fine. I watched the VOD yesterday, and you mean the game in general?
Yeah.
Or Perfect Worldy? Oh no, it's you missed a whole 5-on-5 team fight. Everyone is dead.
Get out of here.
They're all dead. No, we just got a smoke quietly prowling around.
Well, yeah,
but they're not gonna find anything.
See, we choose the correct times to reconnect, ladies and gents.
See, we have our own game sense. People underestimate caster game sense, but you got to know these things.
So, Riki again, just scouting around, dropping down a ward. Ame is still left completely to farm to his heart's content in this game. He's 3-1-6, and currently seeing the second highest net worth in the game, just behind the Shadow Fiend with that Midas. How scary is the Void versus Weaver matchup for Weaver? I feel like we hear a lot about how good it can be.
Yeah, well, assuming he gets a chrono. If he doesn't get the chrono on the Weaver, then Weaver wins that matchup 10-0. But if Burning is caught, and really IG has no good way to save a Weaver who's caught, they can, I guess, just Aghanim Stampede, but XXS does not care for Aghanims, actually went for a heart. So, That's
Yeah.
actually very odd to me.
And we were talking about that earlier. I'm not exactly sure what the idea is behind it. I guess just feeling like they're going to be able to outmaneuver him, and he wants to have more for the return aura later. I don't know.
Yeah, but like there's no reason to get it this early. Like you either go for the pipe, or you go for the blade mail, or you go for the Aghanim scepter. Getting a heart this early, like no one cares to kill you. The reason you get a heart is whenever you're super tanky, and then you go for that return aura push, or you go for something like a blade mail and just try to soak up as much damage as possible. But it's kind of like a Pudge with no mana. You're gonna run around, you're gonna be able to hoof stomp and double edge some people, but really you're not helping your team very much. So XSS's item build is peculiar to me, because even after this, he's going for a Shiva's Guard, which is also none of the items that I mentioned before. And, you know, he doesn't have the best armor, and of course a minus attack speed aura. Oh man, they're gonna find that other way around.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a scan or what exactly it was that tipped him off, but he drops a sentry ward, and M99 realizing what could have happened. Maybe it was Bobica clipped him or something, but whatever the case, they find that kill. OP still looking for something in the mid, but as they spot Ame moving into there, they realize they're not going to be able to take down the silencer, and back to farming a bit more.
Back to farming, but Riki's job just got a whole lot harder as now XZ has picked up a gem, and so not only is the map shrinking as LGD, it's very easy for them to counter ward with a Monkey King, but now they can't find Prime Initiation. Even Weaver has to play a lot more passively, so it's now up to IG's defense.
Oh god, this would be huge. They go in, Global is there, they're going to decide to turn on a Burning, but the poor staff not quite going to be there. The Epicenter hasn't killed him off yet, but the right clips from maybe will, and now you also take down Q. Everybody forced to back out. That would have been a great time for an Aghanim Scepter Stampede, but of course he doesn't even have an answer to Global, so it's a tough one, no matter what. Like, it's just really hard for them in this game.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't even consider it, but Lotus should also be like a very, you know, a high priority item, which now it looks like he is going back for it. So thankfully he didn't go for the Shivas, because that was just compounding to this peculiar build. But Lotus will help significantly. The thing is that there are a lot of people who you would like to Lotus in this game, and, you know, Centaur himself is also one of them, as now Yao is going to get caught.
All right, this is a good one to jump on right now at the very start of this. They will also be going afterwards for snag onto Roche, but already there, maybe picks it up, and now they need to back out. They need to try and get away from this one. They have Stampede still if they want to use it, but it looks like that is not going to be the case. Also worth noting, OP did go back for the attack range talent after the damage as well. Yeah, he's super dead. So kind of the right-click oriented Lina build, and this feels like one of those games where we're going to get to the level 25, so I'm very curious to see how the new Fiery Soul per stack ends up working out, the attack speed and then movement speed as well, because already a ton of range, a good amount of damage. Lina's going to be hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, and that'll be a somewhat good solution to dealing with Chronosphere, because right now there is only one target that Ame needs to get, and that's the Weaver. It doesn't matter who else is outside of the Chronosphere. If you catch the Weaver, then IG will lose the fight. But if Lina becomes a more and more competent right-click semi-carry, then with this buffed up range, she's a very difficult target to lock down, and she can siege from outside the Chronosphere. Oh man, she gets out.
That was a little scary. Yeah, and they are not going to quite catch her. So BKB completed for Lina now. It's a late game BKB. Well, I guess not super late game. We're only 24 minutes in, but it feels like, or 34 minutes, excuse me. Yeah, NA math, lol. But it feels like it's going to be really effective this game. It's that answer to the global that they've needed for this core hero. Granted, you still don't have great ways to deal with getting chronoed as her, or to save the rest of your allies, but maybe you can just out DPS somebody and kill them off before they can kill your Weaver.
Yeah, so far Ame hasn't gone for a BKB of his own, and it doesn't look like he's interested in it, and so there's... Oh, he might actually get caught here.
This would be huge if they can make it happen. Light Strike Array down, Laguna Blade to follow. I'm getting the clips, and it is going to end up being a kill. A little bit of lag there just to accentuate the drama, and now bottom, XSS trying to get away from this one. He's still very tanky on this hero with that heart, but it looks like they might be able to bring down M99. He is going to go down to OP. They won't catch anybody else on their way out of this, though. So M99 drops. Looks like Sand King will escape. But a nice couple of minutes here for Invictus Gaming. They're pulling it together.
Yeah, it was really the linchpin was that gank on Void mid. IG Burning used the Diffusal Blade to pop his Lincolns, and that means that Laguna Blade had a free ride to Void's heart and was able to take him out. And he doesn't have buyback, has all of his cooldowns up. All of LGD have their cooldowns up, but they do not have two heroes and they don't have buyback. And now this heart is really paying dividends as XSS is pushing this tower without even looking at it.
Oh, that's great. You love to see this. And now going to be able to hit it from the low ground as well. Burrow Strike only onto one there, but trying to bring down OP, pops the BKB, runs away, Shadow Blade to keep him alive. So they will be able to make at least that first escape. And it looks like with the tier 3 tower down, IG might need to think about backing out, and they end up doing just that. So good decisions. They don't end up losing anybody, and now they have access to the shrines.
Yeah, they knew that after Global, if LGD had buybacks, they would have spent it then, and Centaur would have stampeded out, but they didn't hear any buyback sounds, and so XSS just held on to Stampede. He put the Lotus Orb on himself just in case he needed to cast it, but there was no need, and they get a tier 3 for free because Ame didn't have buyback.
Well, nicely played. They're making these movements, and it's not something that you always end up seeing out of Chinese teams, is that test for high ground to see if they have buyback. I think oftentimes we've been seeing like the emphasis on trying to make sure that you take some other objective and you don't invest fully into pressuring if there's not a great chance of you getting it. But now LGD are the ones on the aggressive, down bottom.
Yeah, they didn't care about buybacks, they didn't care about Aegis either. Maybe still has this Aegis on Shadowfiend, and it'll be useful for this siege, as it'll be up for about 1 more minute, but we'll see if they can get anything done with it.
All right, they jump forward, stun onto maybe. We're getting it 1 frame at a time, folks, but I'm sure that it's going to look great when it ends up coming through fully. Maybe he's actually doing a lot of damage to himself with that return aura as well. Those right clicks coming through. But the whole time you've got Ricky off to the side here, I guess scouting for a courier to come in?
Yeah, pretty much. He can come back to the lane whenever he needs to, and whenever he's, hanging around bot, Sand King has a gem still, he's not going to find anything, but they're going to back off, and maybe gets effectively, once again, nothing done with that Aegis.
Oh, but now they found Yao, and this is the Diffusal Blade getting shown off. They aren't going to quite hit there on the Boundless Strike. They actually force staffs back in. Oh, that was unfortunate. Maybe tried to save his buddy with that force staff, but ended up throwing him to his own demise. That's frustrating, I'm sure.
He just had to get the last word in, literally. And now, Sand King.
Yeah, burning. They're going to go for these. Yeah, it looks like they need to be careful, though. Like, Ame, if he showed up to that one and ended up jumping in with the Chronosphere, they definitely can kill off the Weaver at that point.
Which is why I'm surprised that this Ame Void is going to go for Bloodthorn. I feel like, at this point, Blink Dagger is much more important, because Shadow Fiend hits hella hard. He has a Daedalus completed. He's working on a Butterfly right now. You don't need to be the primary damage dealer as a Void. Your job is to make sure that you can set up for the Epicenter, this Wukong's command, well, unless if he dies here. He gets out. Yeah, so this Wukong's command, which now M99 does have the Basher, so that's a lot of lockdown for a Weaver, because you get the Boundless Strike after the Chronosphere, and then maybe you get some Lucky Bashes. And at least Weaver now has a BKB of his own, so he can deal with Global, but again, you can't deal with Chronosphere.
Right.
That's assuming that Ame can get the positioning, though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And that is the big issue, is, making sure that he does get that, because as the game goes on, you actually becomes incredibly hard to deal with burning once he gets that level 25. He's still a little ways away from it, but that is, I think, going to be one of the more important spells in this game, or one of the more important turning points in this game in terms of their ability to deal with it. What do you think about OP going back for an Aghanim Scepter in this game? Do you like the idea, or would you rather see more right click coming out from OP?
I think he's concerned that Void's going to go for a BKB. Well, I mean, Void has a BKB. Oh, okay, he has a BKB. What? So much for that Bloodthorn.
Yeah, he had it queued up, got rid of it. Whatever. The players are doing this more and more often. They're keeping us on our toes.
Well, then OP went for the right read, because it's really important for Lina to be able to burst down this Void, and if a BKB comes out, then usually Void feels pretty safe. He doesn't have to use Time Walk defensively, he can use it aggressively. But if you have to deal with Aghanim's Laguna Blade, then you can't use Time Walk aggressively. which again makes it difficult for him to be able to get a successful chrono because he'll time walk in, he'll chrono, and then he'll instantly lose like half of his HP from an Aghanim's Laguna Blade.
No, that's true. I mean, that's one of those abilities that just becomes so powerful in the later stages.
Time is money.
Let's see, is there anything else? Yao ended up going back for the 60 GPM instead of the 200 health, just feeling like he needs to, get something, even if he's dying all the time here. Sand King, that talent is there as well. 2 per souls. There's not a whole lot here that's incredibly surprising, I would say. I am curious to see the time walk, which I'm assuming Void is going to be going for as that max level, the increased range on it in this game. I guess that evasion could be good, 20%. It's not bad, certainly.
It would be, which again makes me feel like he needs a Blink Dagger, because that evasion talent would be sweet. Like you said, this Lina's gone for, well, what is now a hybrid build with this Aghanim Scepter transition, but that means that her right-click potential is still pretty strong because all of her talents are right-click oriented, and so evasion's important, and then obviously against Burning, who has just been quietly farming away. He's working on a Scotty right now, but Void can't easily take that much damage.
Oh, this could be a big moment right here. They see Burning. Burrow Strike is there. Chronosphere onto 2. The Global to follow it up. They are all going to die. OP most likely to fall as well. Well, no, actually, Shadowblade. Really good movement speed out of there. And, well, now can possibly turn this one. M99 going to be controlled. They want to bring down this Monkey King. It makes it a little bit more palatable, but, yeah, losing your Weaver there really sucks.
It does, but that went a hell of a lot better than I feel it should have. Lina getting out, not losing any Bloodstone charges, and surviving that, and that was not yet again. Epicenter wasn't used. I think it was because XC was inside that Chronosphere,
right?
And so he wasn't able to do that. And then again, Requiem wasn't used, and he does have. Oh, actually, he didn't go for the Aghanims yet. Actually, I don't think he's going to. But regardless, Requiem is still a lot of burst damage, and whenever you're dealing with these BKB carriers like Lina and Weaver, you need to get that burst damage off whenever it's guaranteed underneath a Global Silence and a Chronosphere.
I think they weren't even planning on hitting OP there. It was most likely just to ensure that they got Burning at the very least. But now the jump forward, they're actually on the back lines already. Ame trying to bring these guys down, but he's being controlled. Is he going to end up being killed off as well? That time walk range is absurd. And that's what he decided to go for. Still stuck in the cloud. If they can quite bring him down, this is going to be enough. They take him down. Oh, no. Well, that's 3 dead. Oh, man. IG are really going to start rolling in. They're looking for more here as well. We're about to see Lina go off because she also got that level 25 now. M99 maybe in some trouble. They have the Shadow Blade. They could think about turning now and taking this fight. He's going to start doing a lot of damage, and it looks like XZ trying to get back towards the shrine, keep him alive. The right click's coming through, and they do kill off that Monkey King. Void buyback, but I don't know if it's really going to matter. Honestly.
Chronosphere's up, but it's just him, and we said that Shadow Fiend was the meat of the damage.
All right, Chronosphere down, catches onto the Weaver, trying to bring him down. Wukong's command as well. The Burrow Strike isn't enough. No! He gets the time lapse off. Burning gonna live through it, and now they're gonna turn, they're gonna fight. No. Everything goes wrong. Oh man, that Lotus Orb.
Actually, he didn't get the time lapse off when he needed to. Lina Sudoku to give him that burst HP.
Oh my god, I can't see a damn thing. It makes a lot more sense then. He got a second one off after the fact. And now she's gonna be back in 4 seconds, so boots of travel back in.
BOTs.
Why not?
She has Ag Laguna.
Oh my god. This is great. They are going to be able to Burrow Strike out on Q. XXS, he's trying to make his way out as well. I don't think that they're going to be able to kill him off. They lose a lane of barracks and another melee, and they're just not going to get anything in return. Rough stuff for LGD.
Buyback forced out by Ame, but they needed a combination of buybacks. Wow, that time lapse is absurd. I'm sure on your computer it's like Void is literally just beaming across the map.
Yeah, I can't see a damn thing. It's going to be working, I'm sure. We'll get it all fixed up. But again, that Chronosphere, it being down now means that they're not able to come and contest Roshan. So IG, in spite of the fact that they do have heroes that scale better, it feels like the farm has not been there for those supports. Like, Silencer is 5,000 net worth right now. You've got the Sand King who's behind the Riki at this point. I mean, how many times have we seen that before? It's really uncommon, I feel like.
In like the last 15 minutes, Riki has been a game changer for IG. So during that fight near the Radiant Ancients, Riki was zoning out the Sand King and the Silencer, and then basically solo killed the Silencer with tricks of the trade and then a few defusal charges, which Silencer didn't have global up or anything, but he would have still liked to participate in that fight and was just completely zoned out. And then again, we saw initiation on this Faceless Void and the Sand King during this bot Rax defense. Riki doesn't even care if he's detected now because all he needs to do is use this Blink Dagger to get godlike positioning with some smokes.
All right, here we go. The final countdown, double sentry for double true sight, but well, they're going to be on to XSS. That's not the person you want to initiate on at the very start of this fight. They're going to get the Lotus Orb off. Also has Stampede if he wants to use it. It's already committed it now, and well, they dropped the Chronosphere. It's onto 2. Burning, still so survivable through all this. They're going to be able to kill off OP, but he's going to be back, well, actually not that long, 36 seconds away. They dropped it, stolen Chrono, controlling onto 3 of LGD. The Void was still doing stuff, but they lost maybe because of it. Rubik doing the damn thing, and now going to be able to take a little bit more. Ame so low. Is he going to die? Not quite within range. Maybe, though, is in trouble. Diff bladed up. They've got XSS on top of him. Double edge, as well as some more right clicks to come from Burning for sure. Oh, yeah, was going to end up possibly falling. Burning loses the Aegis, but they take down the Silencer. Now Bobica looking for more.
Whoa, now.
Yeah, they getting a little bit too big for their britches, and they're going to need to run out of here. I mean, this is still a Centaur War Runner who just doesn't give a damn, though. And now Ame able to back away. They have another time lapse if they want to use, or rather, excuse me, time walk. OP is back into this, and there's the kill for Maybe. Now the kill for XZ. Now the rest of LGD's structures are going to drop, and GG called.
Here I was thinking that LGD's other non-carry heroes were going to be the ones that scaled heavier, but IG managed to find all that was necessary to make sure that Bobica Riki, despite not having a great early game, becomes a defining factor in the late game. OP with his right-click Lina scaled really heavily, and then obviously burning is burning. Does anything else need to be said?
Yeah. Well, really impressive display. So the final tally ends up being... I feel like this Lina Bloodstone is so good because
it's very hit or miss. You saw a hit and you were seeing the misses earlier on. The fact that they were able to give her that much farm and she was able to like get that Shadow Blade and not get punished for any of it, it was kind of a product of LGD playing a little bit more passively than they needed to. But yeah, this is what happens whenever you let it go unchecked.
I mean, the thing that's nuts about it though is she did die 6 times in that game. Like, I feel like before the problem with Lina Bloodstone was that if you died once, your game was so heavily hurt. But now, if you die once, you do hurt, but not nearly as bad as it once was for Lina. You know what I mean? Like that talent, it feels like the synergy there makes it better than it used to be at the very least. I don't know if that makes it like the de facto build now, but I'm sure that we're going to continue to see some pros experiment with it. Tsunami, any final words on this game number 1? What do you expect to see in game number 2?
Well, LGD got Monkey King and they didn't get Venomancer, and so I think IG are going to go for the same bans again.
Okay. All right. I like it. We'll see if it ends up happening. IG versus LGD. Gonna apologize for the lag. We're gonna try and sort some things out in between the breaks, but it does tend to be fairly hit or miss. So stay tuned because we are going to continue with the grand finals of the Chinese qualifier right after this best of 5 series. Game is 1-0 now into the favor of Invictus Gaming. See you guys in a bit.